I gave this video the title, Why Powerful Sexually Aware Women Are Still Called Whores, and why that narrative is dying, so that I'll have some breadcrumbs to follow. So I'll have a thread to follow. Because as the new year approaches, there's an unspoken invitation in the air to leave the past where it belongs, and not just old habits, not just old relationships, but old narratives that were never true to begin with. One of the most tired and one of the most damaging of those narratives is this. A woman who is confident, sensual, sovereign, a woman who is unattached must be promiscuous. It's lazy. It's inaccurate, and it's coded in fear, not actual fact. There's an ancient truth that current society has conveniently forgotten. Long before the modern shame culture, sexual energy was understood as the creative source. Ancient priestesses didn't use sexuality for conquest or for validation. They used it for healing, they used it for manifestation, they used it for blessing the land, blessing leadership and community projects. They used it for anchoring harmony between the masculine and the feminine forces. Sexual energy wasn't reckless. It was disciplined, it was intentional, and it was sacred. The irony, those cultures were often more stable, more prosperous, and more spiritually integrated than what ours is. What changed wasn't morality. What changed was control. Somewhere along the line, a dangerous equation formed. Female sexuality went from sacred power to social smear. Somewhere along the line, a dangerous equation formed. Female sovereignty became seen as a sexual threat. So instead of understanding feminine power, society learned to label it, to reduce it, to sexualize it, and then shame it. Big on shame, our culture. Love a good shame. A woman who doesn't belong to a man is labelled as suspicious. A woman who doesn't chase approval is labelled as threatening. A woman who is single by choice, well, she must be sleeping around. It's projection dressed up as judgment. It's problematic because this still happens. There's a man I haven't set eyes on in nearly 10 years who still tells everyone who'll listen that I'm excessively promiscuous, that I chase him. It's been alleged that he's a pathological liar and a master manipulator who can't be alone, who has to be in relationship, who has to be surrounded by yes people, approvers. It's been said that he'll stay in an horrendous relationship rather than let go of dependency. That he takes great pride in the ability to lure people in, to get people to literally to call him instead of him calling them. He loves to take and feed off other people's energy, to puff himself up, to make himself look good, rather than being an upstanding person in equal give and take reciprocal relationships. And let's get something straight. I've been single by choice for approximately 98% of that whole time. Meanwhile, he drinks heavily, smokes, uses drugs, has a public pattern of sexual addiction, And yet he and his flying monkeys continue projecting their unintegrated shadows onto my character. Why? Because anybody who truly knows me knows that's just ludicrous and it makes them look stupid. So again, why? Because projection is easier than them taking accountability. So what's the good news in this? The good news is the tables eventually turn. Over time, integrity speaks louder than gossip. Over time, I speak louder in a quiet way than gossip. People begin to notice patterns, and eventually those who believed the lie realise that they backed the wrong horse. They can see the discrepancies. And at that point, the slanderer doesn't look powerful, they look ridiculous. Let me be clear, I'm not anti-sex. I'm anti-disrespect, or rather, I'm pro-respect. I'm pro-integrity. I'm pro-authenticity. I'm probably seen as old school because I like coffee and conversation. I like mutual curiosity. I like dinner invitations rather than late night booty call texts. Men who support my success rather than compete with it. I like men who don't need me to be smaller than them so that they can feel bigger. I'm not interested in ego games, superiority flexing, being triangulated, having my reputation attacked to keep me in a controllable, isolated, hidden circumstance. That's not divine masculinity. That's masculinity with a loud voice. So is this a cultural thing? Because many Australian men are socialised into hookup culture rather than courting. And obviously not all Australian men, but enough that it's noticeable. In my experience, women who value conversation, women who value respect, emotional intelligence and proper dates often have far better experiences in the Northern Hemisphere, or in particular in the United States. So is it a different cultural conditioning? Is it different expectations? Is it different standards? And this isn't judgment, this is just observation from experience. So why does this matter going into the new year? It matters because if you carry old labels into a new year, you unconsciously live down to those labels. If you carry old labels into a new year, inclusively of female sexuality, my female sexuality example, or exclusively of this and inclusively of any other outdated paradigms that you're aware of, then you unconsciously live down to them. So if you internalize projections from others, you shrink. If you accept outdated paradigms, you sabotage your future before it even begins. So ask yourself, whose story am I still carrying? What lies about me were never mine to begin with? What version of myself am I ready to stop apologising for? Make your New Year declarations to suit yourself. And you can use these or edit them into whatever is more relevant to you and your circumstances. Sexual energy is not shameful. Sovereignty is not promiscuity. Being single is not a flaw, and integrity always outlives gossip. Leave the past narratives behind. Walk into the new year self-defined, self-respecting, and unowned. That's not rebellion, that's evolution.